Yes. And one thing I think they did really good is that if you don't know the original movies or the more recent remake, you still can go in this movie without knowing any of that stuff, and you get brought right up to speed. It can live in its own world, or it could live within
Yeah,
the world of Evil Dead. So
absolutely. Absolutely. It was nice to see the franchise too get out of the cabin in the woods. I mean, that was good to see.
yeah, find the old condemned, terrifying apartment building.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I'll
great.
never look in an elevator again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Movie Dads podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Howie.
I'm Kyle.
He's the eye candy. I'm the comic relief. We established that.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. So if you're not familiar with the show, what we do is we have several segments that we go over each week. Every other week we watch a new movie. We review it. We give our spoiler-free review to start. We give you all a spoiler warning, and then we jump right into the meat and potatoes of the movie, if you will. And then we do a Nerd-Stalgia movie of the week. And this week we found one that we hadn't seen before. So that's kind of exciting to talk about. We start off with our segment 6 to Midnight. We talk about movie news and other nerd media news that gets us excited and what we want to talk about. And then we follow up with the movie reviews with our final segment, There Can Be Only 5, where we give top 5 lists on different categories. So this week, we're going to review Evil Dead Rise, which we just saw. And then we're going to review the 1992 cult classic, Dead Alive, written and directed by Peter Jackson and his partner, Fran Walsh.
Cult classic?
Yeah, it has a cult following.
Or movie cover classic is about all.
It does have a movie cover classic. It's one of those like box arts. Like, I remember seeing that on the horror movie shelves when I was a kid. But it is a cult following, and I can see why. It's got some cult-y moments. It's called Dead Alive in North America, Brain Dead everywhere else in the world. So if you use the metric system, it's called Brain Dead.
Well,
so after that,
Peter Jackson, so it's the exact same quality and type of movie as Lord of the Rings. I mean, right? It's right up there.
He definitely shot up like a rocket after this film. So we'll get into that. But as we're movie dads, we have movie kids. So I talk about my son this week. Desmond had his first coach pitch game, which was, if you've never seen little kids play t-ball or coach pitch, I was laughing out loud audibly. I'm sure I was getting looks from the other parents, but when you have 7 infielders and 5 outfielders and the ball gets hit like between second and third, there's like 10 kids going after the ball. It's awesome. I took a video. This one kid like dives over the pile. All the kids piled up. They all had grass stains because they were just rolling around each other.
Sounds like they had fun though.
They did. They had a blast. Des had a blast. It was a good time. It was entertaining to watch. That's for sure. So
that is awesome.
Yeah. So we went and saw Evil Dead Rise, and my 12-year-old daughter texts me, and she's like, "What movie are you going to go see?" And I told her, and she said, "I will kill you." She wanted to go so bad. So,
yeah, when I told my oldest son Grayson that I was going to see a movie last night, he immediately was like, like thinking he was going to get to go. And then I just promptly told him, this movie will give you nightmares for the rest of your life. So you're not going. It'll put the fear of God in you. So you can't come.
Probably an accurate statement.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Most definitely. So he's not quite ready. I know Reagan is like, she is the movie person, which again, anytime I see those moments with you two, I get like, oh, I can't wait. I get that a little bit. Grayson's like getting in like some of the nerd stuff that we love. He's really good with, like Star Wars. He's kind of strange. He remembers everything if he sees it one time. Like I've put Star Wars on and thought he wasn't paying attention. And then he will like, when I ask, hey, do you want to watch this? He'll like give me the entire plot. you weren't even paying attention. So I'm excited for him to get to that age where he's like, don't freaking go to the movie theater without me, Dad. So
he's using his peripherals. He's playing toys with one eye, and one eye's looking at the Star Wars on the TV, right?
Playing toys and beating Halo, the Master Chief Collection, for like the 70th time. So
nice. So with Reagan, horror movies is her thing. She loves watching horror movies. It started off as a young age, like when she was a toddler. Like her favorite movie was Coraline. Have you ever seen that? The stop motion animation one?
Nightmare Fuel.
Nightmare Fuel.
That movie should be titled Nightmare Fuel or Coraline Nightmare Fuel.
Absolutely. So she loved that when she was little, and it kind of evolved into she liked Paranorman, Monster House, and then she really liked. She's like 3 or 4, and she's like watched Beetlejuice and loved it. It evolved.
Nightmare Fuel.
So
a lot of Nightmare Fuel.
Nightmare Before Christmas was like one of her favorite movies when she was real little. She was really into that kind of dark kids movies. And it just evolved over time, and now nothing scares her at all. I mean, I've shown her movies that, when I was younger, scared the bejesus out of me. And for her, I think the only time I ever saw her actually freaked out after a movie was the first time we watched The Conjuring. And it was dark, and we watched it in the dark, and she was pulling the blanket up, and it was, that was the only time. So other than that, though, man, even she watched It and It Chapter 2.
What? Oh,
nothing.
My Lord.
No, she likes it. So they let him put nicknames on their softball jerseys. She plays softball. Pennywise is her nickname on the softball jersey.
She's awesome. She is the child that all of us nerds want to have. So Grayson's going to get to a point. He's on his way.
But now it's like I want to hang out with you and my brother-in-law Tony and go to the movies, and she's like, "Why can't I go?" You can't go to all. You're not going to all of them.
She was like the first one to ask us about the pod. Like, when can I listen to the episode stuff? So,
she's making comments and stuff.
Okay, let's jump into one of my favorite segments, the 6 to Midnight segment. This is the things that get us excited this week in the nerd world. So, actually had a friend of mine who listens to the pod text me and said, I wasn't sure what 6 to Midnight meant, so I Googled it on my work computer. Bad idea. It's great. It's hilarious. Crack me up. So.
Now everybody who didn't know is Googling it, and now we look like heathens or
if you
adolescent boys.
I mean, we basically explained that these are the things that get us excited for the week. So here we go.
Pervert.
For me, originally when I was coming into this, I wanted to do. There was an interview where the Russo brothers basically had come out and said that they were interested in James Gunn's DC, but that they wanted to be the Batman director. And so like all week I was excited of like, ooh, I can't wait to talk about that. Like they were the ones you and I talk a lot about the Marvel universe and the movies that everyone loves, or at least for me, who is not a Marvel fanboy, the movies that I loved were all of the Russo brothers movies. So those were the ones that I was excited about. So
sure, they kind of, we've talked about that. Their Marvel movies are probably the most dramatic,
serious.
Serious. Yeah. Captain America: Winter Soldier is very like spy thriller, espionage kind of movie, and then Civil War is kind of like that too. And then obviously they did Infinity War. And Endgame and Infinity War to me was
the best of all of them.
It's my favorite.
It's the best. I mean,
Endgame ties everything up with a pretty little bow and ships it off. But Infinity War was the one that got it there, and I love that movie.
Endgame, like I'm a villain guy for whatever reason. The villains are my favorite. Darth Vader's back there. Yep. You got Bane and Joker. This was a new one. I'll have to tell a story about why I went and got this one this week. Someone basically challenged me to it. So like, I'm all about the bad guys. Darth Maul.
Same.
So Infinity War with Thanos basically doing what he said he was going to do and then sitting down and just enjoying that he had finally done what he wanted to do was just. So when I saw the news that the Russo brothers were doing the Batman movie or interested in it, I already know our comments right now are blowing up with all the nerds that are like, no, they actually said they're not. What happened today was news came out. I guess I would imagine the Russo brothers probably saw that the internet was losing its mind this week. And in a red carpet interview, they said that they like James Gunn and they love him, but they're the one character that they would not want to do is Batman. So basically, the thing I was excited about all week is not actually what they're they thinking they were going to do the movies, is they're actually not going to do the movies. But with that, I still we haven't talked about James Gunn's DC views. Let's just jump into that.
Yeah, so it kind of ties into what I was going to do. So my 6 to Midnight originally was going to be to talk about Superman Legacy going into pre-production. So this does give us a great opportunity to talk about our thoughts on the new James Gunn DC movie TV universe and what we think about that. So Superman Legacy went into pre-production this week. It looks like he's at least got a draft of the script written, because he kind of shared a picture of it on his social media accounts, and that was on Superman Day, so that he announced that.
Which I hear it's very all-star Superman, like the art or the cartoon comic that they keep using for anytime they post about it. It's from a comic book, which also is an animated movie, which I know you like the animated superhero movies, so you should check it out. It's a very self-contained story. Basically, Superman finds out that he has 24 hours to live, or he went and saved the universe with the sun and then finds out that he's dying. So it's he's living one day of what would he do in his last day. I don't know how that's going to tie into Superman Legacy, the kickoff movie. But going into pre-production is great.
Yes.
There's
no information on casting or anything yet. We don't have anything. We know he's writing it. He's directing it. We don't know who Superman is. Obviously, we know who Superman isn't.
That's exactly. I was going to say. Well, we do know a little bit of casting info.
My boy Henry got screwed over.
Yeah, those Benedict Arnolds, just a bunch of traitors. They kicked him off freaking The Witcher because he wanted it to be accurate. And then they drop him from Superman. The whole Rock thing, whatever's going on with DC, why can't we get it right? All that stuff is going on. Meanwhile, the Batman in their world is they're crushing it. They're living in their own bubble. They're doing their own thing, and they're doing it right. And that's what I want the fucking DCU to do.
Yeah, what I don't understand is he's doing a Waller show, right? He's doing an Amanda Waller show, right? So he's taken a character that's in the existing DCU and moving her into the new DCU. So
did they say if they were using the same actress?
It's Viola Davis is going to do it. So are we doing? It's Harley. Because that's Amanda Waller is obviously in that Harlequin world, right? Which is Jared Leto's Joker world, which is Ben Affleck's Batman world, which is Henry's Man of Steel, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa.
Gal Gadot. Can we talk about that?
I think no, that T is it's enunciated. It's not. It's Gadot.
Really?
Yeah, look it up. Google it.
We'll have to follow up on that. Fool.
Follow it up.
Can we just one? That's weird to me. It
is.
Are you going to do the old people and bring them in? Or are you going to do new? You're not going to do Henry Cavill, but you're going to do freaking Amanda Waller?
Yeah, so The Flash is obviously coming out in June, right? We're excited to see The Flash. Michael Keaton's back as 1989 Batman, as an old man.
Boing.
Let's go. But we know Ben Affleck's in it too, right? And we've got Ezra Miller in all of his insanity because he's a nut job. He's back as the multiple Flash. And
he gets to be in the movie a lot.
It's his movie, but it's multi-universe. I don't know. Is that going to explain everything? Probably not, because that probably got written before any of this happened.
There's so many questions. Way back when we like when they were trying to hash out the situation with the Justice League and all, and like that Aquaman seemed to be doing well, Wonder Woman seemed to be doing well, but they wanted to reboot stuff. So like they were going to do the Flashpoint story with the Flash, and then they canceled it, but then they brought it back. And so it's like, wait, are you going to do the Flashpoint? I mean, we know they're doing that. They've already shown scenes and trailers and things that are directly from the comic/comic cartoon movie. So we know that's going to be the Flashpoint story. But is James Gunn involved in enough that they're going to use that to help like kick off their stuff? I don't know. I just want to quickly read through the 10 projects. I'm not going to say anything other than just read them out loud.
The correct pronunciation is Gal Gadot.
We're both wrong?
Yes, correct. We are both wrong.
Okay. There's a D in there?
It's like doubt. Doubt. Anyway.
She's never once corrected a soul on that. So we've been calling her Gal Gadot for
There's a video that shows you how to pronounce. Anyway, that's
I appreciate that though. Now the world knows. Maybe we'll have to post that as a short so the world can find out. Here we go. And I'm just going to start this off. James Gunn, rock star, has done really good movies.
Yeah.
You know he is a quality director, writer. He does good movies.
I knew who James Gunn was long before a lot of people did. Like I was a big fan of Slither, which is a B horror movie from the 2000s that James Gunn wrote and directed.
With the real Uncharted actor.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion. Yeah. Elizabeth Banks, Michael Rooker. He had Super with Rainn Wilson is wild. It's a wild movie.
Let's go Dwight Schrute superhero. Yes.
The first two Guardians of the Galaxies are really good movies. They're great. The soundtrack's great. The acting, the story's great. Like, Facts. Yeah, they're funny. They're heartfelt. They've got good action. Like, he's done a great job.
Well, what was interesting to me, what's interesting to me is the Russo brothers in this interview where they said they don't want to do Batman because they specifically said they like to do the quirky, off the wall, goofy characters, which when you look back at their Marvel stuff, no, that's not. That's James Gunn. James Gunn does the weird ones.
Yep.
Speaking of, let's talk. Number one project that's coming out, Creature Commandos. What?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an animated thing. It's on HBO Max. So like, we're not going to be like, oh my God, this is the big James Gunn universe. But like, that's like what they came out the gate with. Like, that's what they were like, this is what we're doing. Get excited. Creature Commandos, Waller, another TV show. Superman Legacy is going to be the movie that kicks it off. So we're getting that movie. Then Lanterns, we're getting 2 Green Lanterns, but it's going to be a show. I'm pretty sure they said Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, potentially even Kyle Rayner. So I'm sure they'll sprinkle in other ones. But there's another. Then the second movie is the Authority. So we're going Superman and then the Authority, which you don't know any of the characters from the Authority.
No.
I barely know anyone from the Authority. That feels like that's going to be their Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I just wonder why are we doing that? Like, why are we not going right into the, we haven't used everybody yet that's in the, I don't know. I got lots of questions,
Yeah. So just to keep going. So another show, Paradise Lost, another why, we don't care. Then they finally get into the Batman movie, which is The Brave and the Bold, which I've talked with you a little bit about this. They're jumping right in. Yeah, right. They're jumping into Batman when he has Damian Wayne. That means he's already gone through 3 Robins, one of which has died and come back to life. And now he has his son, which is at a way different time frame of Batman's storyline, or not storyline, but his like career. Like,
well, he's much older because Damian's old enough to be a Robin at that point. Yeah, so Batman's much older. Dick's already Nightwing at that point, right? Has been. Yeah. Like it's I don't. It's a weird place to jump off into a new Batman. I'm
like, why do it? Feels very much like there is just someone who just doesn't get like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We don't know
Yep.
anything about anything. We haven't seen anything. So maybe I'm being a DC fanboy who's never pleased, but like, come on. Then the next one, Booster Gold, is another
Yeah.
one. Why? Why are
Mm-hmm.
we getting Booster Gold? Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. That's Supergirl is the movie. So the first movies they're doing is Superman, some random The Authority, which is going to be their Guardians of the Galaxy, Batman, and then Supergirl, and then Swamp Thing,
Are
which I
they
think
using
Swamp Thing.
so the Supergirl is in the Flash? Do we know, is it this, are we using the same?
I don't think it's the same
It's
one.
probably not, right? Like,
I might be wrong on that, but from what I have seen, they have not said that like
mhm,
this is the one that they're doing.
right.
Would that be the smart move? Yes, if she's great in the Flash, but I haven't
But then
seen
you're
anything.
tying everything in together again, right? Like then you're using old stuff and new stuff, and you got to
Yes.
explain it. You can't
Yep.
just do it and expect people to not understand.
Yes.
You got to explain it, right?
I saw so the Swamp Thing. I did see that like it's not trying to be like this movie is a big crucial part that ties into the overarching. It's just like supposed to be its separate kind of own thing and its own like kind of scary like monster movie almost type thing. So I like when they do that, but here's my problem is because of Marvel and what they've done with their freaking phase 1 through 4 and all
Yep.
these like everything ties into each other. It's like all of a sudden we need to do the DC world, like that has to be what it is.
I
And
will say this though about Marvel. I'm not trying to cut you off, but what I will say about Marvel is the phases, like in the plan, like it was all laid out. Like it was very
yeah.
structured. We're not using
Mhm.
all our major characters right away. Like Iron Man wasn't A-list when until the movie came out.
Yeah.
Like, you
Facts.
know, and then so I mean they're saving big characters, it seems like, for each segment. Like we haven't even seen the Fantastic Four yet, right? We haven't seen the X-Men yet because of the purchase. Like we still have major players yet to come, and we're 14 years in.
And that might be the case here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they want to do these really well and then
Mm-hmm.
they turn into something cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But like, man, like I said, I really like what they did with the Batman. It feels like a Batman movie, a comic booky.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like, I don't know. I just looking at the list of like what they're coming out, it feels less like there is a plan and these are characters we are all excited about. I don't look at that list of things coming out and go, I can't wait for all of those. I'm like, ooh,
Sure.
I'm interested to see that, that, and that,
I will
you
say,
know?
based on James Gunn's track record, right? It's not fair to crap on the guy. It's not fair to shit on what he's doing or what he has done, right? I don't think that's fair. I think it's fair to be skeptical based on
Yeah.
what he's announced so far. If he's
Yeah.
announced this, like these are our projects, and we're going to do them this way, like we're going to do these, like independent writers are going to come in and write these scripts, and these, that was one of the things that I thought Marvel did that was really exciting, was a lot of the movies they brought in people that hadn't done big stuff before. Look
Yeah.
at God, what's his name, John Watts, that did the Spider-Man trilogy. Okay,
Hmm.
he had done almost nothing before they
Yeah.
asked him to come in and do Spider-Man Homecoming. And he created one of the best trilogies in the Sony Marvel arc, because
Hmm.
No Way Home is almost perfection when it comes to a comic book movie. I mean,
Yeah. It's
it's
great.
amazing what he's done. And the Russo brothers had very little experience before they did the Captain America movies, right? Like they were on,
Hmm.
like they did Community, the TV show. There's not a lot of experience there beforehand, and if they do stuff like that and they bring these guys in to do those kind of things, I'll be excited about it. I think that's cool. I don't think they need to go out and get somebody big to do all these movies. If he wants to be
Hmm.
in it and do Superman and like be part of it, great. But he's not going to go out and he's not going to hire all these like A-listers and stuff, I don't think.
Yeah. So like excited about it. I want to see like what they do with it, but like I wish they would have come out with like these are all things that we should be excited of. Like, hell yeah, I can't believe they're gonna do that. Like, give me Batman, give me Superman, you know, it feels like they're trying too hard. Like,
Hmm.
like what do DC fans care about Booster Gold, Amanda Waller? I know he's kind of a Booster Gold is kind of a cult hero for some folks. They liked him in the Justice League cartoon, but like I don't care about that show. They've just give me more of the meat and potatoes of the stuff I want to see of DC. That's pretty much
I
it.
think it's
So
fair. Like I said, I think skepticism's okay, but let's wait and see what kind of product he comes out with, right? Like let's kind of see what kind of quality we get, because I think there's a lot of potential there. He obviously has the talent to do it. People want to work with him, including the Russo brothers.
it's true.
So
This is true.
let's see what happens. But that's good. I mean, you had a 6 to midnight. Mine kind of tied into it. We brought us into this really good discussion. I think that's good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it doesn't come off. I mean, it's going to that I'm like a DC hater. I'm not. I'm like the
Mm-mm.
biggest DC nerd. So
No, there was
I think
enough
that
problems with the current DCU. I mean, it's all fair.
yeah, and it's just they're trying. It's like they're trying to be like what the Marvel stuff is doing or has done, and we've seen that with the Joker and with the Batman. That like you just do your own thing. It doesn't all have to make a good movie. That's all I
Yeah.
want. Make a good
I'm
movie.
okay with them too doing standalone stuff like the Batman and Todd Phillips's Joker. That's like it's a DC property, but it's its own thing. I'm okay
Mhm.
with that. Um, but if you're gonna do what Marvel did, you've got to make sure that the person in charge has a very clear vision, has a good team of people around them, and they know what they're doing. Now, James Gunn coming from that is probably going to be a good thing, and we'll kind of see how it all works out.
Yeah.
Because I think you and I both talked about that's also one of the biggest issues with the new Star Wars trilogy is we didn't have one person trying to tell a story across 3 films. We had 3 different people trying to tell the same story. Didn't know how to get
Yes.
there. And it
Who
kind of
wanted
it
to tell
messed
their
it up.
own?
Yeah,
Yes.
it messed it up.
Agreed.
So
Totally agreed. So
skepticism is earned. And we'll wait and
we'll
see
leave
what
it there.
happens.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
early. It's early.
These are
So
very early, very early. So good 6 to midnight, Kyle. That's awesome. We'll go in and we'll do our movie reviews and let's get this party going.
let's go.
And that takes us to our big premiere movie of the week, Evil Dead Rise. So premise is Evil Dead Rise is a pseudo sequel
Mhm.
reboot of the 1981 cult classic Evil Dead, written and directed by Sam Raimi. It's a new movie.
The original one was Sam Raimi.
Yeah,
Right?
original one was Sam Raimi. Then there was a reboot in 2013 by Fede Alvarez. And this one is written and directed by Lee Cronin. And it is a new movie in the franchise that doesn't really tie in with the others, or does it? We'll talk about that, but we're going to obviously start with our spoiler-free thoughts on the movie, and then we'll give the spoiler warning, and we'll talk about our favorite spoilery parts of the film. So start with my initial thoughts on the movie. We just saw this. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought the 2013 version was very bleak and dark. Great horror movie, very gory, very graphic. This one I felt like it was more fun. And it's not like it's a funny movie. It's not a horror comedy by any means, but I felt like there was some one-liners. There were some interesting scenes. It was a little bit more even over the top without being as realistic, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. The acting was great. The 2 lead actresses were fantastic. Overall, I really enjoyed the basics of it. Those who don't know the premise, it's basically a sister, and she comes to visit her other sister who lives with her 3 children in an apartment building. Book of the Dead gets brought out. Mom turns into a deadite. All hell breaks loose, right? That's kind of what happens. So, Kyle, what were your initial thoughts on the movie?
It was terrifying for me. Like it was scary. The trailer when you first sent it to me, like I was like, I already know that's going to scare me. Um, the mom as the deadite, the actress was fucking horrifying. Like she is the scariest thing I've ever. Like it was hard to just keep my eyes on the screen because it was so scary to look at. Like in terms of just bad guy, they did really good job with her like makeup and creepy ass smile, and she's just her. And then the other Deadites that end up showing up were scary to me. But
Yeah, they did a great job to make up. Yeah.
Listen, had a good. I thought it was a really great movie. The beginning, the opening scene, they just did a really good job of like setting the bar super high with their opening. Kind of felt kind of like the first Insidious movie, the first scene where I was like, "Holy shit, this is going to be fucking a fun ride for the next hour and a half." So.
Yeah, they did a great job. The makeup's great. The acting is great. That we get this whole cast of characters in the apartment building. I'd say those of you that haven't seen it yet, before we get to the spoilery parts, I'd recommend you go see it in theater. Kyle, you made a point like to, you were glad we saw it in the Dolby. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah. We've got a Dolby IMAX, so like the sound, there's subwoofers, there's bass, the music's super loud. So like I think for this movie to really hit home for what it's going for, to be in like full fear mode the whole time, you've got to see it at that level. So just like I said, like the way they did the score during the movie at certain points, like oftentimes I was kind of like gripping my like seat of like, oh God, please end this moment because this is scaring me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's got those like cringeworthy moments. The ones that kind
Yes.
of gross you out, make you uncomfortable. We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a thing with like fingernails, like when they're dragging and somebody breaks a fingernail off like that.
Yep.
You've talked about certain things like that make you have the feeling. There's multiple moments like that in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying not to jump into our spoiler stuff already,
right.
but like, yeah, it was a fucking scary ass movie. I'll just say that. So, and you're
So we
more
both
of the kind of Evil Dead. Let's say you're more of the Evil Dead like expert on the franchise. So like, I think the movie hits a little different for you than me.
Yeah, I've liked every single Evil Dead property that I've seen. I love the original movie, the Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn with the comedy in it, Army of Darkness. Those are like classics when I was growing up. The Fede Alvarez remake in 2013 is an awesome movie. It's so bleak and dark and like it's dreary. Yeah, I don't know. You feel it's unsettling, kind of. It's a great movie. The Ash versus Evil Dead series on Stars, Bruce Campbell back is great, a great horror comedy. And then this, I mean, it's right there with all of them. There's no bad movies in the franchise, which a lot of horror franchises can't say that they keep sticking around with quality. Now it's been 10 years, so it's, hopefully they do more often now because they're really churning out good films, and I hope it keeps up. But we both recommend people see this. So I would say go see it in the theater if you can, for sure.
Yes. And one thing I think they did really good is that if you don't know the original movies or the more recent remake, you still can go in this movie without knowing any of that stuff, and you get brought right up to speed. It can live in its own world, or it could live within the world of Evil Dead. So
absolutely. It was nice to see the franchise too get out of the cabin in the woods. I mean, that was good to see.
Yeah. Find the old condemned terrifying apartment building. Right. So I'll never look in an elevator again. The same.
Ugh. I would agree. So, okay. I think this is the part where we say, spoiler warning. Back off now if you don't want to hear details of the movie, because we're about to break it down.
We're going to give it away, so leave the room.
All right. Kyle, you going to grate any cheese?
Fucking terrifying. Are you kidding me? That cheese grater was... I'll never look at a cheese grater the same again. I mean, I feel like they showed it in the trailer, so we knew it was coming. They showed it in the scene that it happened. They kind of panned on it for a second, and you're like, "Oh, please God, don't fucking grab that cheese grater."
The sister like chucks the cheese grater at the Deadite sister, and she almost like superhero shunk grabs it and
yeah.
like out of midair and and like, oh, let me rip your calf off with it.
And I think for me, that was where my mind was like, what body part are you going to use that on? And
Oh yeah,
please be like over a t-shirt or something, not directly. Oh my God, it's on her calf. Like, oh,
yeah.
so
They kind of made it look exactly how I thought it would too when they're cheese grating that calf. But a
yeah.
lot of uncomfortable things. Like we got the tattoo gun, like right up against the eyeball, and then the kid turns her face and
Oh
it
yeah,
just digs into the face, and there's the glass through the hand. Right, we have all that. We've got the little girl's got the spear and she stabs her sister right in the mouth
which
out the back.
in the beginning of the movie when she's chasing the sister around, so the older sisters, one shows up to see her family. She surprises them. It's the mom, the three kids. They live in this apartment. Dad is gone. But like they're doing some character building. The daughters are running around, and the little girl has like a stake, like a sharpened stake with a doll head on the end of it.
And chase away ghosts.
yeah, like, and she chases the sister around. She gets mad at her because the sister like pisses her off, like really. And I'm a little brother, so I totally knew what was happening. Of like, oh, you just flipped a switch, and she's probably gonna do something she shouldn't as a kid. But she had a fucking spear, like a full-on stake that she was chasing with. So
Yeah, it was
I
a
thought she was
broomstick,
actually,
and then it breaks, right? Yeah. And
yes,
then it's.
I
Do you
thought
remember what she
early
called
on.
it?
No, I don't. The name
Staffany.
Staffany. Yeah.
Staff.
Stephanie will keep us safe.
Yeah.
So
I think that goes into why I think like it's one of those things that makes it a fun. Like that's funny. It's not.
yeah,
It's subtle.
yeah.
Subtle,
They
but
did.
it's funny.
Yeah, I don't think I definitely don't think that it's like a funny movie. Like it's not a funny movie, but it's adult humor, and that they say things at times that you're like, you shouldn't laugh at that because this is like a mom trying to kill her daughters, but like,
Right. Well, they have that one line. I think it's in like one of the little like TV spots or like one of the internet spots because they're not showing it on television. But she's like, when she's a deadite and she's looking at her kids and she's like, "I'm finally free of all you titty sucking maggots." Wow.
Tell us how you really feel. Yeah. I think in terms of comedy, like there were moments where the deadite, it was like, or the demon or whatever was inside of her, was saying things that it's like all parents, like I don't think parents wish they could say that, but it's
No.
like they're saying things that you're like if you weren't the actual parent of that kid, you'd probably be like, what the fuck, you little brat. Like that's kind of the vibe you get from it. So
yeah,
it's
there's some funny lines like that. Yeah.
she was also like horrifying. What's the name of the main actress?
Oh, the two of them I have written down. The two sisters are Alyssa Sutherland and then Lily Sullivan. Lily Sullivan's the model turned into actress.
The most scary bad guy in a horror movie ever. Like she is right up there on the Mount Rushmore of like Exorcist one girl. Like I will never forget that creepy Joker smile of hers as she's telling people.
I got that backwards. I apologize. Lily Sullivan's the heroine, and Alyssa Sutherland's the actress.
Okay, there was a lot of original stuff in the movie of like for like a horror movie that I thought was like cool. They did a lot of things. It's like that is really gross and uncomfortable, but like let's do it. So like, the sister when she turns into the monster and she's like throwing up worms and stuff.
Oh yeah,
So then they find her eating like a thing of glass to
like
kill
she's
the
eating a
worms
wine glass, right? Yeah. Oh.
And just the way that I do like how they flipped the voices. Like for whatever reason, there's like a very well known like sound of like what a possessed person sounds like when a demon's talking for you. Like for whatever reason that is.
It's like two voices talking at the same time and one's much deeper than the other.
Yes, but like I like that they would do that, but then in that voice they would say things that were like super like was supposed to be very like funny kid like, but it was like, hearing that voice say that kid, what?
Right. And
So
they did a great job of making you uncomfortable. We talked about the cheese grater part. The camera zeroes in
yeah. Oh yeah.
on the
Oh,
grating,
oh,
like, and when the girl's eating the wine glass, like they do a close up of her throat and glass is like sticking out as she's swallowing it.
yes.
Yeah, they do a great job of making you feel uncomfortable sitting in your chair. Um, they have a cast of characters in the apartment on the floor, right? Like there's the creepy old guy that smokes cigarettes, and then there's like the religious neighbor who seems really nice, and then there's like the two brothers whose parents aren't home, and then there's the mom, the three kids, and the sister, right? And they're all
Hmm.
on this floor, and like, but there's no rules. Like you and I
Yes.
talked about this as parents. Like it's hard when kids are in danger in movies. The kids were
Makes
in
it totally
danger,
different.
kids were dying, but at the same time, I didn't feel as bad. I don't know. I didn't feel as bad about it in this movie because of maybe the way it was done. I don't know.
Yeah, like that was like my very first thought when when like you find out they're in an apartment building that's essentially condemned. There's only a few people that actually live there. Like it was very much very quickly of learning like there are not a lot of adults in this movie, and we know that people are supposed to die in this movie, so there's someone's about this is about to get wild. So
Yeah,
um yeah, that's as a parent, that was what makes it even more
unsettling.
kind of, yeah, unsettling. It's a great way to say it. So um the actors, I liked everyone for the character they were playing. I thought they did great. I don't think there was any one that I was like, oh, I wish they would have cast someone different. um I like the main heroine. She was like a badass, and by the end of the movie, and she's like covered in blood with this fucking badass callback chainsaw, was like, oh, this is cool.
I
This
mean,
is heavy metal.
double barrel. She had the double barrel shotgun. She had the chainsaw. She had both. I mean, she was channeling Ash as good as anybody could be, right? Like they've done
Yes,
a great
yes,
job. They did that in the remake too, where Jane Levy's character at the end of the 2013 one has the chainsaw, and that's how and she
yeah.
loses her arm and has the chainsaw, and then this gal has the chainsaw at the end, and like we talked about the boss fight at the end too, like how they like merge together.
Mm-hmm,
Hadn't seen
mm-hmm.
that before, really. I mean, you kind of have a little bit of that in Evil Dead 2, but this was pretty wild.
Yeah, it turned in from like six scary ass monsters into like one amalgamation of super. It was like kind of like Super Shredder, but like terrifying.
Yeah,
So
like crab
there was
crawling.
one point. Yes, there was one point where like that was chasing them into the garage, and like the kid, her and the kid, like jump out of the car, and they're hiding on the side of the car. And, like the monster like couldn't hear them moving around and talking. That was the one part was like, really, like they don't hear you moving around and opening and closing the
How
door.
do you not hear them? You have like 6 ears.
Yeah, you have 400 ears, and they also could read a book without even looking at the book. So it's like
Well, I mean, that
at the
kind
beginning
of,
of the movie.
yeah, it was,
So
yeah, that
that,
was, I did like
I
the call, there is that little part on the record when they're playing the record and it's like channeling the demons and they say, this is one of the three copies of, the Book of the Dead.
yeah,
And that, is this shared universe Evil Dead? There's
yeah,
Ash's book, there's Jane Levy's character, there's that Book of the Dead, and then there's this one. Because this one's very different looking, like it has like teeth binding it together. It can only be opened with blood.
yeah,
Very, very different.
yeah. Um, I liked that too. I thought that was like a cool. If you were unaware of anything, you wouldn't have caught that. You wouldn't have thought twice about it. But if you know, oh, this is the third iteration, like, oh, actually, it's all in the same universe. It goes both ways. I think it's great. Um, I liked like I've had a feeling that we were like trapped in the apartment. Like the stairs were gone, the
Yes.
elevator was gone. There was no feeling of like we're gonna get out of here. So it's like we're all gonna die is pretty
Yeah.
much what the vibe was.
Yeah. Created that good sense of dread, that kind of atmosphere, like you're all in trouble.
Yeah, and I think they try it early on to make you think that maybe the kids are all gonna make it, and then the second that because because like she's going to tattoo the oldest daughter's face, and when she does it, you're thinking she's about to die, but then she gets pulled away and the day is saved, and you're like, okay, she's gonna be fine. But then the second that little cut turns into like starts to spread, I like you immediately knew like, oh god, we're gonna start losing them one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many like just like scenes that if you would have taken out of that movie out of context and just put it in its own world, it would have been terrifying. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, like let's just say the mom like being like when she originally died and then they thought she was just dead and they had her on the bed and like she's dead, but then like sister listens to a voicemail of her, but then the voicemail starts talking of like, I'm burning alive, help me, and then the phone cracks. I'm like, oh my god, run.
When they first had her on the bed and like her eyes are, and they like go to shut her eyes and they pop open, I thought about, we're going to talk about Dead Alive in a minute, but I thought about the like when they pop the eyeballs back in.
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that.
I was like, ooh, do that. It works. I've seen it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the beginning though, right? So you talked about before our spoiler part started, like how awesome the beginning was. It really ramps up the action. In detail. It has this actually kind of like Cabin in the Woods kind of scene. And this gal Deadite comes out of the water, very biblical looking, and then the Evil Dead Rise title card like rises beyond the trees, and like it's this really gory murder scene at the beginning, and then boom, we cut to the main characters, and you're like, oh, this has got to tie back into this somehow because it says one day earlier, and then we get that at the end.
See, I must have been looking at like grabbing popcorn or candy because I think I missed the one day earlier part, which would have put everything in context. For the rest of the movie, I was like, oh, that was, I just forgot about the opening scene. But also, you mentioning that, like, it makes so much more sense in terms of like, that was a cabin in the woods where the evil dead is chasing and killing everyone there. That's like a callback to the remake and the original. So
it is. They did a great job. They paid a lot of service to the original. They made their own thing. I loved the apartment complex idea. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've had all these movies where it's a cabin in the woods. Army of Darkness is medieval times, but you know, it's its own thing altogether.
Medieval times.
But and you have the 2013 remake, right? Back to Cabin in the Woods, which is fine. It's great. All the movies are great. We did something different. I'd love to see them do it again. You know, with a different Evil Dead setting, you know, whether it's a sequel, they can keep making standalone movies that might take place in the same universe. Yeah. They just have to explain where the book comes from, right? Like that's the big thing. They just, you know, which they basically said there's 3 of them. So now we know.
Yeah. I thought that was like the early on in the movie, I thought that was such a weird thing that like they had casually mentioned that the building was built over the top of a bank.
Yeah.
And so then like an earthquake happens, they find this tomb, they find a bank vault, but then when they get down there, well, the one guy who goes down there, it's like a bank vault, but then it like somehow then turns into like, it's not a bank vault, it's like a tomb with like crosses everywhere. So there's a lot for me that I was like, wait, like what the fuck? Like, was this a bank vault that turned into like a place that people hid and did ceremonies? Like what? That was weird, but like it also is Evil Dead where, you know, mom fucking crawls up the roof like she's a spider. Like I wasn't going to ask too many questions about like, is this realistic? It was great. I loved it.
It's a great movie. I would say my overall review, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 stars. Like it's a must see. You need to see this movie. If you're a horror fan, it's great. If you're an Evil Dead fan, it's even better. Yeah. So that's where I would rate this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it was a scary movie. And when I'm looking at scary movies and thinking of like ratings, like things that would put it in an 8 or a 9 or a 10 or movies that I want to watch again. This was a scary movie. It was a great movie theater experience. Am I going to rent that when it comes out? Probably not. I'll never see the movie again. But I would give it a 7 out of 10. If you're going to see the movie, you have to see it in theaters. because that's where you're going to get the most reaction that you should be getting when watching this movie. So.
Awesome. So that's our big premiere of the week, Evil Dead Rise. You have our ratings, you have our reviews. Go check it out.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go into our Nerd-Stalgia movie of the week, which is the 1992 zombie comedy, Dead Alive, or Brain Dead. Again, if you use Celsius, it's Brain Dead. This is a Peter Jackson movie. 1992, 3 years later, the guy got nominated for an Oscar for writing the movie Heavenly Creatures. Less than 10 years later, he's the belle of the ball because he made the first, he'd already filmed all the Lord of the Rings movies, and Fellowship had come out, and everybody's like, this is amazing.
Nerd Hall of Fame with Lord of the Rings. Like, he will forever, he's on the Mount Rushmore of nerd movie directors. If you watch the first one, this Dead Alive movie, there ain't no way in hell I would believe anyone to say that the same director is the guy who did Lord of the Rings.
No freaking way.
No way.
This movie knew exactly what it was. It's a zombie comedy. It's batshit crazy.
Bananas. It is wild.
It is Sumatran bat monkey crazy. That's a reference. So,
oh my God.
Premise of this movie basically starts off with two guys are on Skull Island, Skull Island.
We had to rewind that to look. So for those of you who know, Peter Jackson's other good movie he did was the more recent Jack Black King Kong, which I personally think was amazing.
It's an amazing movie. It's amazing.
So good. They did the King Kong story fantastic.
Yes.
Now, when we saw Skull Island, we had to back up and say, holy shit, is that King Kong? So does that mean that Dead Alive is in full circle moment? Dude, does that mean that Dead Alive or Brain Dead is in Jack Black's King Kong universe?
Let's call it what it is and say, it
has to be.
Is.
Has to be.
Has to be. This movie.
Oh my God.
Basic premise, again, two guys kidnap this rat monkey thing from Sumatra. They take it to New Zealand, put it in a zoo. We meet our main character, Lionel, who meets this girl.
Who immediately falls in love.
Because of the tarot cards told her.
Yeah. She literally, she reads a tarot card from her mom or aunt or
I don't know,
or
grandma.
whatever. And then one of the tarot cards says that she's going to fall in love with a man with a star and a moon over it, or a cross and a moon.
Yeah.
And 5 seconds later, the guy walks in the door and she has her moment. There's star and the moon.
He spills licorice in the shape of a star and a moon, right? That's what it was.
Which it didn't even look like that. It wasn't even enough
so
to be oh, that's got to be it. So, but then she immediately falls head over heels, creeper, stage 5 clinger, crazy for him.
Thirsty.
Yeah, she wanted it. She wanted that.
So Lionel's the main character. He lives with his overbearing mother in this big mansion that looks like a suburban
favela.
I don't know what the hell this house is.
It looks like a favela from the outside. It's on a hill and it looks like a tiny little shop. But when they walk in, it's a Victorian mansion.
Yes, it's a Victorian mansion. So mom's overbearing. Lionel goes on this date with Paquita at the zoo. They see the evil rat monkey thing. It rips an arm off another monkey and kills it. And then grandma or mom's spying on him, falls down, rat monkey bites her. So what does she do to the rat monkey?
She curb stomps it to the next fucking generation. She stomped that thing out like it was American History X, that one scene. You all know what I'm talking about.
She dug her heel straight through that skull. That she killed that rat monkey. And anyway, so she gets sick. Zombie movie. That's the premise of the movie.
which you might have known that. Maybe you looked into. I like to go into these movies where like I don't think that this isn't a what do you mean you haven't seen it? Because like I think we both had not seen it,
We hadn't.
but like I like not knowing any of like the premise or what to expect, even like to not see the trailer because I think the trailer can give away a lot of things. So like the whole first half of the movie, I'm like, this is so bad. Not knowing that it was purposefully like that because it was about to get fucking crazy. Like
It,
this thing went off the rails in the most zombie movie way ever.
this is one of those movies, we talked about this before. This is an awesomely bad movie because it's intentionally crazy. It's
Yes.
over the top.
Over the top. Yeah, that's
Over
exactly
the
what
top.
it is. Yeah, very
It's so over the
Sylvester
top.
Stallone over the top.
I mean, like basically half the town starts turning into these zombies, and Lionel's like hiding them. He's tranquilizing them. He's got like syringes. He's
God, it's
sticking
a big
syringes in
jug.
their eyeballs and their nose.
So,
Oh,
so
the jug.
yeah, the jug of the tranquilizer. So, like we're jumping ahead a little bit. So, mom gets bit by this monkey, and then over the next couple of scenes, slowly starts to turn into like the main like patient zero zombie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which the first part where I was like, whoa! I mean, other than her like them being very up close, zooming in on her stomping like the zombie monkey out, she is trying to be in this like upper class like club society that she's been
Yeah.
elected as like the new president. So they're coming to her house to chat with her about it, and so like she starts to get sick because she got bit from this zombie. They don't know it, but she's turning into a zombie overnight. And so she gets up to try to get ready for when the people come to chat with them. And she's trying to do her makeup. And she like peels her cheek, like peels off like the skin of an orange when you're peeling an orange. Like it just gets off. And then Lionel, being the smart, good son, goes and grabs Gorilla Glue and starts, he grabs
Kong
this
glue.
big
It's
old,
Kong glue.
yeah, Kong glue. Oh, I see what you did there. This big flap of skin. He grabs it and he's like stretching it and dabbing it with as it's hanging from her face with his glue and sticks it back. Which that was where I was like, oh. But after that, they do dinner, and she's got makeup on to try to cover it all up, but she's very clearly sick. She's shaking, she's freaking out. She's turning into a zombie. Grossest part of the movie, even though there are some super gross parts for me, I like pimples, pus, yuck, gross. The mom, as they're eating dinner with these oblivious people, she's got this big the
It's where
wound
she
where
got bit. It's where
bit,
she got bit.
the
Yeah.
monkey bite. It turns into this volcano pimple looking thing, and it pops. This thing pops and squirts pus into the bowl of these oblivious dinner dates, and they're eating like bowls of pudding. I think
Yeah.
maybe in New
It's
Zealand
pudding.
that's like a
A
dessert thing. So
dessert.
they're
Yeah.
having they're having pudding, and so this pus squirts right into this guy's pudding, like a lot, not a little,
Yeah.
a lot, and he just is lapping that up like it's the best meal he's ever had, and I about vomited on the floor because
It's
that was the
pretty
most
bad.
disgusting thing I've ever seen.
I mean, the whole movie's gross. She eats the
Yes.
dog. She eats this dog, and like they find her in the bedroom with like just the tail sticking out, and he's like pulling the freaking dog carcass out, and Paquita's like, "Oh, she ate my dog," and he's like, "Not all of it," and there's just a pile of guts on the bed. Not all of it.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's no big deal.
Right after they pulled a 3.5 foot long tail out of her mouth.
Dude. Oh man, there were so many wild, gross scenes. There's a part where a guy gets like all of his skin and muscle ripped off from the pelvis down, and it's just bone,
Yeah,
like bloody ass bone.
He gets degloved, but his whole bottom
Yes.
half of his body,
Yeah,
but
gets
his
degloved.
bones are and he's still moving with his pants down, but there's skin and
It's wild. It's intense. I mean, it's over the top comedic. Like so the mom dies at the foot of the stairs. The nurse comes over and she's like, "Lionel, your mom's dead." Like, just touches her neck. Like, we're not gonna do CPR or nothing. She just touches it for a second. She's dead.
She
And
literally
then
goes, "She's dead."
yeah, and then oh, zombie mom does the finger thing to the nurse.
Oh,
You loved
yeah.
that, right in her skin.
Yeah, I think you really went into that one. It's not what it sounds like, guys. She's behind her and she sticks her fingers through her face, but under her cheeks, grabs her head, and tends to turn her into a human Pez dispenser.
Correct.
Exactly
all that's hanging
what
on is that spinal cord.
Yeah.
It's wild. Go ahead.
I was just saying, so that's when we start to see everyone turn into these zombies. Like, slowly, one at a time, they're getting killed or hurt, and that turns them into a zombie. Which, go for it.
Don't forget the preacher.
That was going to be my main favorite part of the movie. Is eventually the mom dies, and I think at that point right when all that happens, he goes and meets the crazy scientist to get the tranquilizer stuff that he has.
Nazi scientist.
Yes, which was my second most interesting part. So he finds this crazy German scientist, and both Howie and I look at each other like, oh, that's definitely like a Nazi scientist turned. And then sure enough, he turns over full on swastika right on his arm. So he was definitely a Nazi. Gives Lionel this giant beaker jar with a huge label that just says, I don't know why I couldn't figure out what the word label is. It just says tranquilizer. So he's running around with this giant jug of tranquilizer with a huge metal syringe, massive syringe that he just happens to have on him, like it's like he's James Bond with his little pistol, but it's him with his syringe. So he ends up hitting his mom with the tranquilizer. She goes out. So then he thinks that she's dead. They go to have a funeral to bury her, which does not go well. But that's where they introduce my favorite character of the movie, the priest. So normal priest or pastor, priest, he does, the ceremony. There's actually some shenanigans where Lionel ends up falling and fighting with the body and falls out in front of everyone, and they think that he's
a little freaky
he's a little weird. Which I wouldn't put it surprise. We haven't really mentioned it, but like Lionel is a mama's boy. Like
he's an odd cat.
Mama's boy. Yeah. So he is a weirdie. So anyways, we meet the priest. They end up they're in the cemetery at night. Somehow Danny Zuko and his greaser friends end up in this movie and are there they become zombies. Mom reaches out from her grave and turns them all into zombies. So Lionel's there. He's trying to fight off these greaser zombies. Mm-hmm. And then who shows up out of nowhere? Kung Fu Bruce Lee pastor. This old white guy pastor turns into Bruce Lee. Immediately is doing Johnny Cage spin kicks, karate. He's taking dudes out left and right, literally like the Monty Python, the Holy Grail with one of them. Like he takes out every single limb, legs, arms, head. Like he turns into Jackie Chan. Yeah. And I don't know where that came from, but I loved it. I died laughing.
There are so many things in this movie we could talk about. We could talk about this movie for as long as that movie is because there's so many over the top, crazy, funny parts. And when you start this movie, it just seems like it's a bad movie. And then you realize, oh, this is intentional. It's we said over the top. We said it's crazy. It's nuts. It's so nuts. Yeah, the Kung Fu priest like puts the nail in the coffin. And then so he turns into a zombie. And Lionel's like, he's tranquilizing all these zombies. He's having like dinner with them. He's like feeding them
Yeah.
with
He tranks
tranquilizer
them.
and food. And
Yeah.
like the nurse whose head is the Pez dispenser, Lionel has to step out of the room. Her and the
Oh my
priest get it
God.
on the table. Like, and she has a zombie baby.
Yes. It almost kind of felt so like after he tranked them at the cemetery, he takes them back to his house to then live and keep them like normal by using these tranks. It felt like Shaun of the Dead when his buddy was a zombie and he just like
Yeah.
kept him in the shed to play video games. That's kind of the
Yep.
vibe he's got them at home. And that was one of the things I was like, what's happening here? Is he's just trying to keep him living a normal life, just living with these zombies in his house. The house has they did no like build up of this happening, but the house has turned into like a fortress. Like he's put boards up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They've put a fence around so like no one can get in or out kind of vibes. Um yeah, that kung fu priest moment was really where I was like, okay, now I know where this movie's going.
The baby, so they get it on the kitchen table. Later that night, the nurse has a zombie baby. The zombie baby's nightmare
Oh my
looking,
God.
but
So
the best the zombie baby running through the yard. Like there's fight scenes where Lionel's like fighting this baby like in public, and
yes.
it's so over the top, it's crazy. But every time they cut to the baby running, it's dead ass a grown man in a baby suit.
Yes. Which I think is what makes it so funny. So there's once like Lionel's fighting literally a doll, very clearly a doll in his hand that looks like this baby. And then he'll throw the doll on the ground and it'll clip over to look at him in full grown adult and baby suit running. And like that was awesome.
Oh, there's a lot going on. There's this subplot with the uncle wants the inheritance, and so like he brings a bunch of people over for a party. That's when all hell breaks loose at the end, and everybody's a zombie. There's this bizarre subplot where like it turns out Lionel's overbearing mother killed the dad because he had a girlfriend, and like she drowned him and hid the bodies, and it doesn't have anything to do with the insanity of this movie. It just adds to it, but it's probably not necessary. Boy, I want to talk about so much, but I know we can't. The boss fight, like mom gets a super dose of some kind of poison that's like turns her into you talk about it, this huge ass zombie.
Yeah, it was what they fed her like animal. I don't even know what the word was for it, but it was like this animal exciter, which is not the right word, but like they thought they were giving them poison to kill them, but it actually made the zombies like super. It was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Super Shredder. Like it turned them into these terrifying things. Yeah, she evolves into a giant. I mean, kind of like what you had said with Evil Dead Rises, like a giant, like Resident Evil video game boss with massive, like 6-foot long finger talons. They end up on the roof of the house out of nowhere. Very like Gaston versus the Beast and Beauty and the Beast. Like this.
I mean, yeah, if the Beast had like great big saggy boobs.
I forgot. Yeah, so massive Bahama Mamas. Like just it was so crazy and wild. And she's like, she's trying to kill her son, and very much like if I can't have him, you can't. And there was the whole final like couple of scenes, like the final battle, the party that turns into this zombie house. It was like John Wick versus zombies. At some point, Lionel comes in with a lawnmower, which the very beginning of the movie, they do a very short scene where the camera is watching Lionel mow the lawn, and for whatever reason, the lawnmower goes right over the camera, and they really like pan on that like lawnmower blade for a second. Very much foreshadowing later, which we both said that lawnmower
that's coming back.
Something to do in this movie. So he comes in, he's got the lawnmower like roped, strapped around like a just like, I don't even know how to explain it, but basically
Well, he's
these
holding
guys
on
all
to it
like
like you
hold
would
on.
pick up a lawnmower, but he's got a rope around him to support the weight.
Yes. So he could walk at you with the blade. So he's walking at this room full of 40 zombies and basically blenders them. And for whatever reason, this 40 zombies around him don't take him out. They all just basically run directly into this way.
Yeah.
So he's doing that for a couple of minutes, and then all of a sudden it pans, and the whole room is just covered in like pink goo, and he's taking them all out.
Yeah, and he's covered in blood. This may be the
Yes.
two movies we're doing today. We might be the two bloodiest movies combined in a show ever.
Facts. So yeah, and throughout that last scene, a lot of like normal characters that like obscure throughout the movie were in it are at this party, and they just in the randomest ways turn into zombies or get killed. One of the girl zombies, like, she dies, and one of the characters like puts her head up against like over a light bulb, so then she's
right,
like
yeah.
pinned to the wall with her head like lighting up, and all of them as they die they're still like alive. So she's got this, her head and body are all lit up and she's pinned to the wall. The uncle gets killed, and
Oh yeah,
like he turns into like a grotesque, like if you're into like body horror movies, like this is the one. Like they all turn into these crazy dead space scary monsters at the end, but in like a funny way.
yeah.
So
It's over the top, campy, funny. So
yeah,
Kyle, overall, what would you rate this movie?
if I would have had to rate the movie in the first 3/4 of the movie, I'd have been like, this is a really badly done movie because I didn't get it. I would have said like a 1 out of 10. I would say this is a horrible movie. This is awful. But then the moment that I realized what it was trying to be, and that it was purposely doing that because it was going to be the zany, wild roller coaster ride, definitely an 8 out of 10, like classic zombie movie.
Yeah.
If you're a zombie fan, you like zombie movies, you got to see this because it's fucking wild.
It's
8 out of
wild.
10 for zombie wildness.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go 8.5 out of 10. This is my genre. I love horror comedies. The gross is so over the top. It might be the grossest movie ever made. I mean, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm going 8.5. I struggle to not give this a 9. It's a cult classic, 100%. I will watch this again.
That facts. I the like the props, like the all of the just the makeup, all the stuff. Like if you really like those kind of movies, like they did a really good job of being like, wouldn't it be cool or gross or weird to just put that in the movie where the guy gets like degloved and walks around?
Let's try it. Let's see if it works. That's how they made this movie.
You didn't mention at one point, one of the greasers, like his body gets taken out, but his like lungs and his intestines.
That's right.
Their own monster character dog trying to.
There's so much going on. So much. You can't remember it all. I wrote down a page worth of notes.
Yes,
and I can't talk about all this. It was good.
They were good. I loved it. I had a good time. I was glad we watched it for sure. Okay. Love that we got to see that movie that we've seen the cover of in every blockbuster ever, but I had no idea what it was. Let's jump into our There Can Only Be Five.
There can be only 5.
Yeah, we've got to get a good intro to that.
Oh, yeah.
This one, we have a listener, a super fan of the podcast that actually commented on one of our videos after we did like our top 5 video game franchises. He basically was like, you guys should do top 5 video games based on a movie. And we both kind of looked at each other and was like, we should actually do that. That's a great idea because there's a lot out there. And so my There Can Only Be 5 this week is top 5 video games that were based off a movie. Now, to start things off, I think, Howie, you and I are going to have a very different list. I'll just say that.
I agree.
I think it's pretty common for us just because you're old and I am youthful. And so with that,
Older.
you are more seasoned as a human than
There you
I
go.
am.
I've spent more time around the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you call Nebraska the world.
I listen. Get to it.
Okay, here we go. Number 5 for me. You actually mentioned this movie, I think, on one of the podcasts very briefly because it was a really bad movie, but the video game was actually awesome. My number 5, 2009, X-Men Origins Wolverine. You probably never played it. It's a video game
No.
based off of X-Men Origins
Barf.
Wolverine. The movie was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. Dog shit. Now, this video game was awesome. If you were to look up like best video game based off a movie, if you would just Google it, I would
I
bet
did.
that 8 out of 10 that game
I
would be
never
on
saw
it.
it. Never saw it on any
That's
list.
bullshit.
Just yours.
That's bullshit.
It's only on yours.
I looked up a couple and I saw it on there too.
Yeah.
It's a really good Wolverine game. If you're looking for a game to be like the Wolverine, the gameplay is awesome. There's like super badass moments where he like takes out a helicopter. You feel like Wolverine jumps into a helicopter. He can, with his superpowers, he can come back from anything. It's a
Nice.
great game.
Right.
I would highly suggest looking that up. Number 4 for me. This was tough to rank this not higher on the list because these games are near and dear to my heart. I'm actually putting 2 games, but they're the same franchise. I just can count them as one. 2002, 2003, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Nice.
These PlayStation 2 games were awesome. Especially The Two Towers. They were coming out at the same time that the movies were coming out. You could play as Legolas or Aragorn or Gimli, basically the main characters in the Two Towers version, and then in Return of the King, they threw Gandalf in there. You can
nice.
play as like the hobbits at some point, but takes you through basically major scenes from the movie. Like you get to do the Battle of Helm's Deep. The music is ripped directly from the movie. Fucking awesome video game. Video games based on movie. Number 3. This is a game that I would suggest if you're a big RPG fan, you have to play this game. If you like open world games, this game, it is a travesty that this game didn't get the acclaim that it deserved. It didn't have good marketing behind it. 2015, Mad Max. It is a game. It's on, I think, Xbox Game Pass, so you can still download it. Even to this day, from 2015, the graphics are insane. You get to play as Mad Max. You get you get to make your own car. You live in this post-apocalyptic world. You can drive around and do car battles. The hand-to-hand combat is crazy good. The visuals are incredible. Like the setting just is very gorgeous graphics. Just a freaking cool game with cool.
Is it an original story or does it follow the movies?
Yeah, so it's its own thing. It's basically its own version of Mad Max, kind of more related. I would say that it tries to stay on par with the Tom Hardy movie. It tries to be very similar to that. It's not the exact same, but there's cool game mechanics in it. Like there are major sandstorms that will hit out of nowhere, so you got to find cover. Sure. It feels like you're in the Mad Max wasteland, like super unique, random, weird characters. It's such a cool game. If you've not played it and you liked like The Witcher 3, if you liked Fallout 4, any type of open world kind of RPG, you'll freaking love that game. Okay, now we're getting into my last 2. These were 2 tough ones for me to rate in terms of, because one of them is not directly from a specific movie, but from a movie property. So I think there's some wiggle room there. We'll talk. But number 2, which I had it at number 1, and I moved it back, 2004, Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2. Spider-Man 2 was the greatest video game to hit our consoles when it came out. I spent so much time in this open world Spider-Man world. I thought obviously Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi was a great movie. The game was same exact characters, same exact story, but like it's the first time where you can really be in New York in this open world. Basically, all me and my friends would do is we would climb to the top of the tallest building and jump down, and it just you felt like Spider-Man. Such a great game. Tons of fun. Did you ever play that, Spider-Man 2?
I did. That's a very good game. Yes. Lots of fun.
I feel like
I like the first one.
here.
The first one was good too. I like the first one as well.
Really? I don't, because I think the second one basically took the good from the first one and then made it more. I don't think.
The second one's better. Absolutely.
I feel like I'm foreshadowing for somebody. Anyways, number one on my list. Number one, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Greatest video game ever. It's at the top of my list. I've played that up and down 450 million times. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Obviously, it's not based off of a movie specifically, but Star Wars is a movie franchise. We would not have Knights of the Old Republic if we did not have the Star Wars movies. So that I was kind of going back and forth. Spider-Man, if you're looking at like a direct from a movie adaptation into a video game, I would say Spider-Man 2 is number one. But as an overall video game, Knights of the Old Republic. It kicked off what every story game today tries to do. You've got party members. It's an RPG. You can be a Jedi. It's got an awesome story, where, it's got great Siths, the bad guys, Revan and Malik it's like everything you want in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're going to jump in and say something there.
I'm currently replaying that game right now on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, love that!
Nice. So it is a classic.
It's so good. They've been, I think, fan remaking it for a long time. That they eventually greenlit that they're just doing the remake finally.
Mm-hmm. They need to make another one.
They need to make another one. Like, cool, give me a remake of it, great, but like make that game, but like a new version with a different story, and I'll buy it.
Yes. I don't know how they made those first two games, Knights of the Old Republic, both of them are classics. I don't know how they made two games that good and haven't done it again.
It's shocking.
Like, they've made all these other Star Wars games, right? We've had Battlefront, we've got Fallen Order, we've got all these other Star Wars games. Make another Knights of the Old Republic. I don't know what we're waiting on. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, so they ended up doing the multiplayer, the Old Republic, which is the same time frame.
It was an MMORPG, right? Yeah.
Yes. So it's online, kind of like just wanting to take advantage of, the new way to make money in video games. And that's online things that people will spend money to play for a long time. And story games are, depending on how good you are at making a story game, they're, you play them a couple of times, but after you play them once or twice, you're done. The Mass Effect franchise. So BioWare is the game developer for the first Knights of the Old Republic. They are the ones that did Mass Effect because Knights of the Old Republic 1 was so good, but their hands were tied because of obviously being the franchise of Star Wars. So they had to do some things that kept in them. So they were like, let's just do our own. We'll make Mass Effect. So if you loved Knights of the Old Republic, you will love Mass Effect. If you love Mass Effect, you'll love Knights of the Republic.
You told me that because I had never played Mass Effect until a couple of years ago. And you're like, if you like Knights of the Old Republic, you need to play Mass Effect. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. The story's great. Characters are great. It's so similar and yet its own thing. So dead on.
Facts. Love that.
All right.
I'm so proud of you.
So I think there's some similarities to our list that you're going to be surprised with. Maybe not. We'll see. So number 5 for me, I chose Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation was a video game that did a great job of capturing the fear and isolation of the original Alien movie. I thought they did a great job. It's, you're trying to hide from this. It's like one alien. It has that claustrophobic kind of sense of dread. Really well done. Great game. because they made a lot of different Alien game, Predator games, not a lot of great quality in those. This one was the one that kind of broke the mold, and they did a great job.
Yeah.
Number four for me, the 2009 Ghostbusters game. I don't know. Have you played this?
Great game. It's a
It's a
GameCube?
great game. I had it on I had it on 360, I think. Yeah, I had it on Xbox 360. I think it came out multi-console in 2009. It's a direct sequel to the first two Ghostbuster movies. Like it has the original voice cast. It tells a new story that works. And when I'm playing this, I'm like, this is the third movie that we never got, which we obviously have now with new characters and stuff. But this was it's a great game. It's got some problems, but overall the fun, the feel of it, you're like a new recruit Ghostbuster. You're joining the guys, but it's all the guys. It's fun. Too. It's a fun game. Number 3, I had Spider-Man 2. I had the PlayStation. Look at us. Who would have thought? Spider-Man 2, everything you said about it is 100% correct. It's tough not to put this one at number 2, but when I list my number 2, I hope you understand why. But Spider-Man 2 was a game changer. The open world was great. The combat was great. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. For sure.
Number 2, I had the Nintendo 64 classic GoldenEye. Of
course you did.
It's the first person shooter that got me into first person shooters. It's a great game for the time. I don't know if you ever played Perfect Dark, which was basically like a pseudo sequel that came out. Perfect Dark took everything GoldenEye did and made it better. And the only thing, but GoldenEye had scenes from the movie, characters from the movie. If you played multiplayer with the 4-screen split, like it was so much fun to play that. Nobody could pick Odd Job because he's this tall, right? Like you're shooting bullets over his head. And then number 1 for me, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, there was no doubt.
Damn, Howie.
Number 1 was the easiest for me to put. Knights of the Old Republic is one of the greatest video games of all time. It's one of the games that you play a lot more video games than I do. It's one of those games that I have played multiple times, different ways, in different order, different choices. There's so much to it. It's so much fun. Even just like crafting your lightsaber. There's something about being a Jedi for the first time and you're dual wielding lightsabers and you're killing everything. Like it's a lot of fun.
For sure. I
love that.
Explore the galaxy. There's a Jedi Council. They created characters like that for me are very crucial and important and some of the best characters in Star Wars lore. Like Darth Revan, Darth Malak are awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's people out there that don't know who they are. And it's one of the greatest video games of all time.
Yes. It's crazy. There's Star Wars fans out there that have no idea who those people are.
Right.
And so
that's my list. Very similar in a couple spots, but both were really good lists. I mean,
yes,
I don't know about that Wolverine, but whatever, we'll talk about it.
The ones that I mentioned to you that you're like, I've never heard of Mario Teaches Typing. Well, maybe not that one, but these games you're like, oh, I've never heard of that. Like you need to YouTube them real quickly after our show. Check it out. Before we jump into yours, I'm going to quick shout out because the super fan, his name is Justin Peacock. Also might be my brother. He did give us his list when he suggested this. So Justin had number 5, 2002 PlayStation 2 Rocky. Actually, great game. You get to play through the whole movies. Number 4, also this was a game we played in our house, Star Wars Episode 3, 2005 for the PS2.
I have that. It's a good game. Yeah.
It's a good game. Has double endings, so it has the ending that if you want to see what would have happened if Anakin beat Obi-Wan on Mustafar, we can find out how that ends up turning out. Number 3, Lion King for the Super Nintendo, 1994. It's a game I remember. It's a classic. I wouldn't necessarily put it in my top 5. Right. He, like you, is a nerd and had 007. GoldenEye is his number 2. So I saw a GoldenEye on all the lists. When we're doing these lists, I'm not doing the top 5 of all time for
No, it's
like
your list.
everyone. It's
Mm-hmm.
my top 5. So,
Yep.
And the number 1 great game, Batman Returns, 1992, Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Also great game, great music,
Yes.
memorable.
Yeah. That's a good game too. I've played that as well.
So,
Oh, good
anyways,
list. Good list.
shout out to Justin. Thanks for the
Shout out to
idea.
Justin. Thanks for the list and thanks for the topic. It worked out well. So,
Yeah.
for our other top 5, there can be only 5 this week. We're going to do the top 5 horror film franchises. So, not our top 5 favorite movies, but our top 5 franchises. And so, there's a lot of reasons. I had to put a lot of reasoning into why I picked who I picked and things like that. Longevity went into it, quality of the movies that were made, things like that. I did put some personal favoritism in there because it's my list and I can do what I want.
And that's the whole point. So
that's the whole point.
I love that. It was difficult kind of looking at it from a standpoint of franchise and not movie.
Right.
Because there's some like horror things that I'm like, oh, that's such a good horror movie. I want to talk about it, but that's not a franchise. So
absolutely. So I'm going to start with number 5. I put Evil Dead. I had Evil Dead at number 5, and that's probably the most personal one out of this list because Evil Dead isn't as big of a franchise as to some people as it is to me. I love the original trilogy. I don't know how many different versions you made the same movie twice. Congrats, Sam Raimi. They paid you more money. You remade your first movie and you made it funny. Great job. Army of Darkness, when I was growing up, was one of my favorite movies. I love that movie so much. Bruce Campbell's a rock star. I was one of the 5 people that watched Briscoe County Jr. when it was on TV just because of him. Yeah.
Jeez
yeah.
Louise.
And so I love Evil Dead, and the new movie really kind of solidified my choice on this list because I did enjoy it. The remake's good. They're all quality. There's no bad movies on the Evil Dead list. Even the Ash versus the Evil Dead TV show was good quality. So that's kind of why I put it at number 5. Number 4, I put Scream. I had Scream at number 4. Again, this kind of goes back to the quality of movie. Scream's been around since we were... Yeah, you were a kid, and I was probably a preteen or so, ish, maybe.
Rude.
You're a little baby.
That's right.
But Scream has longevity. We've got a new Scream come out. It's one of the better ones in the franchise that just came out in Scream 6. Stood the test of time. Wes Craven started this thing with Kevin Williamson, and we made an all-time classic in the first movie. The second movie was good. It's very meta. It's got humor based in it, and it is very violent. The new one is probably the most violent and most graphic of all of them, but it sticks to the tried and true formula. They did a great job.
Did you like the new one?
Yes, I thought it was better than the 5th one and the 4th one. I thought the 6th one was the best probably since 2. So
I don't think I could go through all of the Scream movies and be able to tell you that I've seen them all, but I think most of them, a good chunk of them. So
number 3, I had Friday the 13th. This, again, is a personal bias one. Jason's like my favorite horror villain. I grew up like with the old NES, Nintendo Friday the 13th game. I have loved those movies growing up when I was younger. I watched them all the time on USA when they were on Friday nights. And then I'd rent them from the video store. I remember, I couldn't even tell you the first one I saw in theaters. It was probably like Jason X. Listen, now they have, when we go to
theaters.
Did you? When we go to quality wise, no, there's some bad movies. There's some bad Friday the 13th. And there's some. They are very specific movies. They know what they are. They know they're campy. They know they're gory. But it's one of my franchises. I can't wait till they make another one now that this stupid lawsuit is over with. And they just had a new game come out. They just had a new Friday the 13th game come out in the last couple of years. It's pretty good. It's entertaining. The creator, it doesn't work very well anymore because it kind of got shut down, but whatever. It's a lot of fun. Number 2, I had Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger's an all-time villain. Longevity wise, I think we've got 8 movies. We had a Freddy versus Jason crossover.
Yeah.
The original's an all-time classic horror movie. The Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which was the 7th movie in the series. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's so well done and so underrated. It takes place in the real world. Like Freddy's a real character and he basically comes to life out of the movies. It's an underrated movie.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
awesome. They made him bigger, scarier.
Mhm.
Like the actors play themselves. Wes Craven plays himself. It's a really cool movie. And then number
I
one,
forgot about that.
I have Halloween at number one. Halloween is not my favorite franchise. It's stood the test of time. Michael Myers is an all time.
How's it not your top one then? Or I mean,
It's not.
why is
It's
it your
number
top one if it is?
Halloween's number one because I'm going to go with the quality of the original. That's
Mm,
probably the original slasher movie. That's the first. Jamie Lee Curtis is the Scream Queen. John Carpenter
yeah,
has made some all time classics. Like I don't even want, The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies, if not my favorite horror movie.
yeah,
It stood the test of time. It's got different timelines. Have you ever seen like
yeah.
the timeline of how
Yes,
Halloween works out?
its
Um,
own multiverse. It
yeah,
has for
it's got
sure.
its own different thing. They did the Rob Zombie movies. I liked those. I know a lot of other
Yep,
people
yep.
didn't. They're a lot more dark, gritty, violent than the originals, even though they're all horror movies, they're all slashers.
Yeah.
The I think 20 was it 2017, 2018 re requel that's like a direct sequel to the second or to the first movie, the that David Gordon Green did that brought Jamie Lee Curtis back, and she's like this
Yep.
hermit. That's an awesome movie. It's great,
Awesome.
well
Awesome.
done. And then they made two sequels to that that got progressively worse. And
Yes. Yes.
Halloween
The
Kills is a weird movie. It's good, but it's a weird movie. And then Halloween Ends. No, that's bad. It's not good.
yes.
I was mad at that movie.
That new like was it the sequel to the first movie or the second movie? Like it
First
was
movie,
like
like the second one never happened.
yes, which like it was so good. The more recent just Halloween
Mhm.
was like it felt like the modern version of the first movie. The
Yeah,
music was on the same
it
par. Like
captured the
I
magic, all that.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I like where your head's at.
All right.
Okay, well, love. I figured that you would go in more of like the classic,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if you were to say top five horror franchises of all time, like not like what's your favorite, but like what are the top ones that like the world knows? Scream, Halloween, Friday the 13th,
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are all classics, which is why I didn't go that way. Because when I think of those movies, when the new Halloween came out, was pumped to see it because it looked like we were getting like Halloween 1 again, and it looked that quality, captured the magic, so I was excited. But like I don't really have any investment in like just because there's a new Nightmare on Elm Street 17 coming out, I'm not like, oh, I love Nightmare on Elm Street, I have to see it. Like
Mm-hmm.
not my thing. I There are some more modern franchises that have actually been out longer than I really had originally thought. But like franchises that when there's a scary movie that's coming out or a new movie in the timeline, I'm like excited to see. Like I actually want to go see it. And for me, I originally kept switching these two out with each other. I'm gonna do them tie for number five, but I feel like I couldn't leave out Final Destination as a child. Final Destination, those movies scared the bejesus out of me, and they left lasting impact on any time I see a truck full of chopped down trees,
Yes.
logs. I immediately think of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I ever see like a fire escape with a ladder on it, which I mean I don't see much of those, but like if I'm ever downtown and I see those, I immediately think of getting away from that because it's going to fall and smash my head. Like Final Destination for me in our like childhood was like it was a good franchise that we all knew. It was kind of like up there with Scream, but like I actually liked watching it. When a new one came out, I wanted to see it. But I tied that with my one of my favorite horror movies as a single movie, but there's two, so it's technically a franchise. And if they ever come out with any more, I actually think they maybe came out with a third. The Last Exorcism franchise. I don't know if you've seen the Last Exorcism
Yeah.
movie. Not the Last Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's just
No, I
called The
know.
Last
Yep,
Exorcism.
I've seen it. It's found footage. Yep, kind of
Yes,
documentary style. Yep.
the second one wasn't bad, but for me, like I love that first one so much. Like if I'm ever suggesting a horror movie to someone, I suggest that movie. So that franchise is one that, like, if they come out with new ones, I'm seeing them. I love it. That was either going to be my honorable mention or tied with Final Destination. Now here we're getting into the nitty gritty. Number 4, franchise that for whatever reason I'm a fucking nerd about: Paranormal Activity. Give me all the Paranormal Activity movies. I love ghost shows. I like the found footage. I think over time, since there's been so many that come out, the quality has kind of gone down a little bit.
Yes.
But that first Paranormal Activity, the marketing that they did was very like, is this real? Like the way they brought out like the end of the movie, like there's no actual end credits. It's very like a found footage movie, kind of like Blair Witch. But like the trailers I remember seeing for it was not of the movie. It was of the crowd reactions watching. And so like going into the movie, I hadn't seen anything from the movie. I'd just seen people freaking out in the trailer. So that first movie legit like scared the fucking shit out of me when I watched it. Like I was gripping my seat. I was uncomfortable. And I just really like what they did with like you don't have to have a big scary monster in a movie to create terror and fear and scary creepiness. So I love the Paranormal Activity franchise. That's a big one for me. Now we're jumping into number 3, The Conjuring. I love the Conjuring franchise. Again, one of those franchises that if they come out with a movie, I have to see it. They've had some spin-off stuff, which I think also kind of plays into why it's such a good franchise, because they've brought characters in that they could make their own movies of. Some of those aren't really that good, but like you've got Annabelle, you've got the Nun. Those are all from The Conjuring. But the Conjuring movies themselves, like number 1, when she is the first movie, when she's sitting on the stairs and like they're playing that game and the hand's like right next to her, like that stupid clap scared the crap out of me. Like,
yeah, that I would argue that first Conjuring movie is one of the scariest films ever made.
Yes, it was so good at creating fear and bringing me back into the horror movie where I was like excited to go see a horror movie. Number 2, which for me I feel like is almost the same franchise. They're not the same franchise, but they have the same actor in it. Insidious. The first, what I talked about earlier in compared to Evil Dead Rise, Insidious, the first movie, like it was scary. Like they have an opening scene with that super loud violin, like just you're like, it's dreadful, it's scary. It's like all of my nightmares come true, like getting stuck in the middle of the night in like a dreamscape of demons. There's that music, tiptoe through the window by the window. Like mentioned that song to you on our way home from the movie last night, and then as I got home at like midnight and everything was quiet, all I could fucking hear was that song in my head. And it's just that movie or that song just instills fear.
I don't think the recording was working. Can you sing that again?
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I legit actually fell for that though. I almost started doing it. I probably will at some other movie. But anyways, Insidious, they're coming out with a new one. I think it looks good. The other ones that they did, I mentioned this to you last night in the car, but like it's a franchise. It's very rare that a sequel movie makes the first movie better. And that is Insidious 2 made Insidious 1 better. There's a lot of scenes from the first movie that didn't necessarily make sense of what was going on. For those that have watched, the pounding on the door, the front door, the alarm going off in the house, them trying to find out what's setting off the alarm, what's opening the doors. Then you find out in the second movie, it was actually the dad and the son as they're out in the night abyss or what I forget. I don't remember the name of what they call where they're out in the scary ghost land. But Insidious. Now, for me, number one franchise. I've told you about this, which I think you ended up binging through. But this franchise My wife and I, anytime we see a new one pop up, we don't even wait for a different day. Like we watch it the day it comes out. Not a single one of these movies has been in theaters. This is it's a streaming movie, I think on Amazon Prime, The Blackwell Ghost. It is a full franchise now. I think there are 7 total movies at this point. It is terrifying without ever seeing a ghost or a bad guy. It's literally, it's not found footage because the main actor is filming himself, but kind of like
documentary style.
Yes, very much. He's like not a failed movie director, but like he's trying to find his way and like, do I want to make movies? Do I not? Some guy reaches out to him about some creepy haunted house that says his house is haunted. He's going to be going to Europe for a couple months. Just, hey, you want to make a movie? Come stay in my house for the night. And so he goes and he sets cameras up everywhere and just like shenanigans ensue. Like doors are slamming, like radios are turning on, like all the stuff that I think about when I'm in my house alone and it's quiet and dark in the middle of the night. I'm like, how scary would it be if just someone started banging on my door, or if like I heard drawers shut or something upstairs? Like, and I know you're setting up for, you're probably going to end up doing that to my house now when I'm playing video games.
I am now.
This week.
Yeah, I'm going to throw rocks at your window. Oh, yeah, I'll just knock on the basement window.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Howie lives directly next door to me. So, but yeah, so they did the first movie, and then like it's like the guy like churns out these movies like every couple of months. It seems like every 3 or 4 months there's a new one. But there's 7 movies or 6, and they all follow. Like they pick up directly where the last one left off, and they get even crazier, even crazier. They're so good. Did you end up watching those, right?
Those. Yeah, they're entertaining. There's a couple different stories. There's like the house in Pennsylvania, then there's the house in Florida with the serial killer. Yep. Yeah, those are entertaining for being like no budget, streaming only, like social media is the only advertising they have. Yeah, basically they're really good movies.
Yeah. Yes. And I would say, like, I know you hear like, oh, there's 7 movies, I don't want to watch them. If you just watch the first one, and they're short, I want to say they're like an hour.
Less than an hour. They're less than an hour and a half for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They're really short. Like we binged through like 3 a night when we started seeing them come out. So like all of my friends, it's a franchise I have like suggested to all of my friends, and all of them love it and watch it.
And that's the kind of franchise that's what they need. They need people to say, hey, you need to go watch this, because that's the advertising.
I think it has a little bit of a cult following now, because when they drop a new one, like it's pretty popular. But the first one is just so good. You're like unraveling a mystery the whole time while like creepy things are happening. Kind of brought me back to the original Paranormal Activity vibes. But
for sure, man. I mean, good list. Totally different from mine. I went longevity and like slasher all the way back. You went more modern and you know, really went with personal favorites. I mean, like, hey, that's great.
What I did.
Man, good for you. That's a good list though. I mean, like I've seen all those. I'm not crapping on any of them. They're all good movies. I mean, it's not like you came here and I don't know. The ice cream man is your freaking Jeepers Creepers. You're a Jeepers Creepers fan. Actually, that first one's pretty. That first one was
fucking terrifying.
That's a good movie. But good list. Great. There can be only 5. Good discussions, good stuff. That takes us to the end of the episode. That's the end of episode 3, Evil Dead: Rise of the Movie Dads podcast. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where we were supposed to do Hudson Hawk, but because of this man's sacrilegious statements against Steven Seagal, we're going to watch Under Siege.
Oh my God.
Kyle's excited. He's excited for Under Siege.
The amount of people I had that reached out to me that was like, you've seen Under Siege. Actually, same with Hudson Hawk. My brother swears that I've seen Hudson Hawk. I have no clue what that movie is.
Made for some good family discussions, I'm sure.
Yeah, interesting.
So that brings us to the end. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Give us a subscribe, give us a like, share, tell people if you enjoy the content. We're on YouTube at Movie Dads Podcast. You can find us.
Hit the bell on YouTube. So
get those notifications.
When we're dropping it.
Hit that subscribe. That'll help us out.
Just tap that subscribe button.
Tap that subscribe. You can also find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Index. Still not on Apple Podcasts for whatever reason. They're still pending. But you can find us there. And then you can find us on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Kyle, anything else?
I'm excited for next week. So
yeah, Under Siege. Let's go. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So thanks for listening. Everybody take care.